are a company officer at your normal station. One of your female firefighters points out something that she feels is important, and you notice that the magazine isn't fire engineering.
You know, I asked the guys not to bring in the girly magazines, and here you are with that.
Whatever.
You know, guys are not physically, well, you know, well, what do you see in that crap anyway?
What I see is who's coming tomorrow on the next shift. Bam.
Nice boots.
Yeah.
Is that one of our helmets?
It's not all.
So we're dealing with some inappropriate magazines in the fire station.
Magazines you read? Is that right?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it appears to be an inappropriate magazine in the fire station that the captain is aware of.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. It's inappropriate for the firehouse, not making a statement about what you read in your own private life. That's on you. You do what you want to do. But you're now in a public facility paid for by public dollars, and there's some expectations on what we have in that facility. I can tell you in my firehouse, it's been made very clear, unacceptable to have any type of pornographic material in the firehouse. And if I find it, here's the line we draw that's really helpful. I try really hard to protect my firefighters. I try really hard to be a support for them and an umbrella for them, protecting them. Once now the expectation's been leveled that this is inappropriate, it's illegal, our HR department has declared it illegal, you're now on your own. And if you now take the step of violating what I've proclaimed for our firehouse is not something we're going to have for many reasons. We can talk about the reasons. The bottom line is it's illegal in our firehouse to have it. You're now on your own. You have no protection from me as a captain. Usually, at least, you know, as far as I know in the fire station, we don't have a problem with it. You know, the second part of it that I think is critical for you, we're wanting to create again that morale and camaraderie that we've been talking about. How quickly do you erode that morale when you intentionally, willfully put something out in the firehouse that you know is going to offend or disrespect another member? That's not what a brother or sisterhood does.
Okay. Now, do you think it matters if it was a calendar versus a magazine?
I don't think it matters if it was a calendar versus a magazine. I very honestly, you know, we have male calendars, we have female calendars. And the rule we have in the city of New York is if it's in the paper, you can read it on the paper, it can be on the kitchen table. Once you take it out of the paper and post it on a bulletin board, you own it. It's not the paper's anymore. If it's in the paper on a kitchen table, that's part of public news. But once you put it up on a bulletin board, it becomes the firehouse's. You've posted it. Doesn't belong there. Okay? Your opinions, your ideas, whatever you want to watch, whoever you want to love, whatever else, that's your personal life. You are now an employee and you are working in that firehouse, and it's got to be done to your standard, to the business standard, to the company standard, and you've got to follow through on what's legal and what's right. The company officer is seeing that with the firefighter in the kitchen. It's in a public area. We now go out on a run, and that magazine gets dropped on the kitchen table, and now someone else comes in to cover because we're at a fire, and someone takes offense at that. Who's getting hammered? Mm-hmm. Okay, the officer is getting hammered. Right, it doesn't belong there. It doesn't belong there, and it's going to get you in trouble in the end.
So as the officer, you automatically take ownership, okay, of that station.
You have to take ownership of that station, and you take ownership of what's in that station. So you should know what's in there. You should go in and check out and see what's in there. And if it's inappropriate, you have to take action to get rid of it.
I believe there's a time and place for everything, and it's very inappropriate. What if a cadet or your chief were to walk in and someone's reading that magazine? It's completely inappropriate. If you want to read magazines like that or look at something that might be offensive to someone else, do it at home. You have time off. At the firehouse is not the time, because it just opens up a can of worms for problems.
Firehouse, we mentioned before, there's a lot of pride when we walk into a firehouse. And as Mike mentioned also, it's also paid by tax dollars. How often do we have visitors that come in to use the restroom? That may come in, because we also showcase our firehouse. We have sometimes kindergarten kids that come by and we show the firehouse. Can you imagine if by accident someone had left something like that, or someone utilizing the restroom sees the magazine?
All right.
What is the perception now? Forget about how many persons you've saved. That credibility just went down the drain. So we have to think of the larger picture, ourselves as well as the public at large.
So it can't be condoned as the officer in charge, period.
I think the reasonable man rule applies. And as the officer, you're a reasonable person. Would you want that material in the firehouse when your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter shows up for the Christmas party?
Point taken.
If that's allowed in the firehouse when your kids show up, then that's fine. I'll stand by it. But if you're going to go in and clean out the bathrooms and go through all the materials and all the magazines and everything else and throw that stuff out when your kids show up, then it doesn't belong there anytime.
When you're trying to establish, I think if you're a company officer worth your salt, you're trying to establish within your firehouse a place where your members, forget about the public for a minute, your members, when they come into your firehouse, they feel like, I'm in my firehouse. And if they're surrounded by material that is obviously inappropriate with the officer condoning it, it's not their house. It's just a place where I come and I feel uncomfortable. You want to establish for your firefighters a place where this is my place. These are my people. This is how my actions are affecting a sister, a fellow brother that I love and I care about. And that type of material does nothing but corrode that. And I always joke with the guys about this or whatever else. It doesn't matter, alcohol or whatever else.
Right.
You do what you want to do in your private time. If you can't get by a 24-hour shift without reading a girly magazine, hey, we got private psychological help that can help you out with that, right?
Well, on that note,